I've got some brand new DIYs for Easter and spring in today's video, on a budget as usual. Let's get started. So for this first one, I have a sign that actually was an Easter sign, but I picked it up last year from Hobby Lobby on clearance. I think I paid 29 cents for this, and I'm just going to start by pulling off the paper. If you get a sign, no matter where you get it from, if you want to remove all of the paper, try peeling off the top layer first because it's usually got some type of plastic coating. Spray it with water, let it soak with a paper towel, and then you can scrape it off. Any stickers and tags I usually just warm up with my heat gun to soften that adhesive, and then I peel it off and sand off anything that I need to. Anyways, now we have a fresh block here, and we're going to paint it. I am using Serenity by Rust-Oleum. It is a chalk paint, and I have a pretty big container of it because I bought it a few years ago to do some furniture, and I really like it for springtime. It's kind of like a robin's egg blue. Well, no, it's paler than that. You can see it. It's a really pretty color. And I'm going to give this a coat. I think I ended up doing a couple of coats, and I didn't really like the brush strokes, so I'm just going in with a chippy brush and just kind of stippling on the paint. And this just gives me a little bit of a texture look. It's not super noticeable, but it does eliminate the brush strokes. If that doesn't bother you, then don't worry about it. Also, a sponge brush would probably work really good for this as well. I'm going to use these white stickers that I picked up on clearance at Hobby Lobby. You can also, Dollar Tree does have some stickers, which I do have. I just happen to have these white ones, so I'm using them. But you can paint stickers. So if you have stickers that are a different color than you want, you can paint them. I've done it many times on different types of stickers, and it's always worked well for me. And then I'm just using some tweezers to help me place these stickers on. I try to not press them down all the way at first until I make sure I've got my placement right. But I've seen this saying or phrase on Decor before, and I'm just going to use my numbers and letters to put out 1 cross, 3 nails, forgiven. This is a beautiful little sign to represent the true meaning of Easter, Resurrection Sunday. And so I'm going to do this with the stickers. If you do not have the stickers, you could freehand it. You could use a Cricut. You could use stencils. Use whatever you have. And then I just used some painter's tape to make a thin line so that I could put, this is like looking like a math problem, so to speak, like 1 + 3 = 4. You get it? So I just did that so that I could paint on the little line. And then I just freehanded the plus sign. I was originally going to put a small mini cross there for the plus sign, but like a wood one, but it was too small of a space to do that well with. So then I'm going to just coat this with Mod Podge, one to help keep the stickers down, and then also to kind of get rid of the glossiness from the stickers. And then I just wanted to add a little something here. I thought about adding some florals, but this is a pretty small sign, so I'm just going to use this lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree and just do a border at the top and the bottom, and I'm just attaching it with a little bit of hot glue. I decided that I might as well go ahead and make this a double-sided sign. So for the back, we're just going to simply glue on this wood bunny. This is from the Dollar Tree. I didn't add any words to this piece or this side at all. I just thought it was cute, little spring bunny on the other side. Great for a tier tray where you have both sides finished. I had this on hand and I thought, why not make the other side cute as well? Obviously, that is certainly optional, or these could be done, separately on 2 different pieces, but just wanted to share the idea. I really do love how this one came out. I love the meaning of this one, and I think it's very pretty. Love the Serenity blue and the dainty little lace touch. And then I also just love this cute little bunny, the backside of a bunny. I just think it's a cute little piece for spring. Let me know what you guys think about this one. Up next, we are going to be working with these little tumbling tower blocks. I have a ton of them from the Dollar Tree, and then my mom gave me a bunch that she had in her craft stash as well. And I've been wanting to find some different things to do with them. And I came across a picture somewhere of a sign, and I was like, I can do this with the tumbling tower blocks. Now, I know that some people have gotten those larger ones somewhere. You could certainly use those too. But this is an idea or an example of how even with Dollar Tree's rising prices, you can still make something really nice with their items on a budget if you just, like this, there's so many blocks that come in a box. You're not going to use them all for this. So it's still relatively, inexpensive to do this. So I'm using some wood glue super glue from the Dollar Tree, And I wanted to do this instead of hot glue. I just wanted to make sure this stayed together better. I also wanted to make sure like the hot glue kind of adds some bulk in between the blocks. So this took a little bit longer, and I'm trying to like hold it, give it a chance to set. And then once this is done, I let it set even longer before like moved on to make sure, I gave it time to dry. But I'm showing you a good bit of this because I wanted to show you how I figured to lay this out. You can, do it your own way, but we're going to be attaching these blocks in rows and then to each other with some gaps because we're going to make it so that there's like a cutout for a cross. And so I kind of sketched this out and then just wrote it down so that I could keep referencing it while I was making it. And that one came off because it wasn't fully dry enough. I was trying to move really quickly through this, but this one did take a little while because I was trying to get the glue to dry first. So anyways, you can see here how I am staggering that, and when it's all done, take a screenshot if you want to recreate it so that you can kind of see how many blocks are in each row and how they are positioned. If you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. That is a very simple way to help me out, helps out my channel so very much, and I would really appreciate it. And you can do it even if you're watching from a TV or no matter the device. So for some added glue here, I just flipped it over, and on the back side, I am covering the whole thing in Mod Podge. I could have done it from the front too, I guess, but I wasn't sure at this point if I was going to stain it, paint it, what I was going to do, but I just thought the glue could get in between all of the cracks from the back side here, so that's why I did it. And then I wanted to make a base for this to stand up, so I took one of those wood rectangle planks from the Dollar Tree. They come in a pack with a few in there, and this sticks out a little bit over the edge, but it's fine. But you could also use some more tumbling tower blocks to make a little stand if you wanted. And then what I'm doing is putting a bead of hot glue on where the pieces meet along with the rest of the board because I'm going to just cover this with moss. But I did take advantage of that chance to add some hot glue in the corner where the piece meets the base just for some added security. And I'm just using some moss. This one is a really, really messy moss compared to, I think the Spanish moss is what I usually use. But this has that little like greenish color to it, and I like that. And I just thought, rather than, I was going to just paint the bottom or stain it. Anyways, I decided to go with the moss, and I really like how it looks, and I left the top piece just in the natural wood, but you could certainly paint that or stain that. I don't know how the antique wax would have worked because there's probably some remnants of glue, even though I wiped it off, but anyways, here is how it came out. I really do love this one. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think this is one that you guys would try to recreate? I had a lot of fun making this one, and it was worth the time to make it. For a little spring piece, we're going to use this, I think this is called a peat pot from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a pack with several. Mine was torn just, I think, when I was trying to unstack some of them because they come in a pack of a few. But anyways, I'm going to do a messy coat of that Serenity Blue by Rust-Oleum on this. So it's not really a dry brush because it's a good amount of paint, but it's a messy coat because I'm allowing that peat moss and that color to come through. It just gives it a little bit of a textured dimension, like rusticy look, and I like that. So that's what I'm doing. And I did paint that little scrap piece because we're going to go ahead and attach that with some glue here in just a second. So I'm just making sure I got the top rim here with that color as well. And then once that was all dry, I just went in with some hot glue and repaired the pot, and you can't even tell. I decided to weight this pot down, so I'm just using some glass like vase filler. I have some that I think I bought at like a rummage sale or maybe a thrift store, and they're just a color I don't normally use if I want them to be seen, so I've been using them to kind of fill the pots. And then when I need to, weight it down so it just doesn't get top heavy. And then I'm just using some floral foam. I decided to use the white foam here. It's like much more dense than the green stuff, and I'm just using my little putty knife to cut it down to size. And then I decided to hot glue this in. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I'm putting a bunch of hot glue on top of the beads. Plus it's going to be in there tight, so it shouldn't be going anywhere. And I'm going to take some scrap pieces of foam and fill in the corners or like the edges, because last time I did a pot similar to this, I didn't do that. And then I didn't have any place really for the moss that we're going to add to stick to. So I decided to just cut off little pieces here and fill in the openings. I'm going to cut down a dowel rod to about the height that I think I need, and I'm just using some wire cutters that don't really work for this, but you just kind of keep turning it and score it until I can break it off. And then we're going to stain that with some antique wax and just kind of using a paper towel to wipe it off. That'll also help it dry. It makes it so that the antique wax isn't as dark, and then you're also, it just dries faster. We're going to poke the end of that into a styrofoam ball, which was from the Dollar Tree. And then we're going to put hot glue and cover this with some moss. I'm using, I believe this is Spanish moss. I picked up a big bag of it from Hobby Lobby because it was just a really good price to get so much of it because I do a lot of crafting. And we're going to start out by doing that, and then we are going to go over it with that other moss, that green moss, just because I decided, well, you'll see, I'm going to do that at the end. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Leanne, and I enjoy doing budget-friendly DIYs here on this channel. Lots of home decor on a budget, simple, easy to follow, and I don't use a lot of fancy items in my projects usually. I mean, maybe there's an exception to that from time to time, and do it on a budget, whether it's Dollar Tree or clearance finds or thrift finds, upcycle type of stuff. If you're into that and you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. If you've been watching for a while and you still haven't subscribed, please do that. I would love to have you subscribe, be a part of my YouTube family. Make sure you don't miss out on my future videos. Make sure you turn on your notification bell. And yeah, it also helps me out, but it also makes sure you don't miss my future videos. Once I have this covered, I gave it a little bit of a haircut. Then we're going to poke this down into the foam. I didn't use any hot glue there. It's in there real good. And then we're going to use more hot glue and more moss. I also like to use all of the little bits and pieces and almost like the dusty pieces because sometimes you don't need a thick layer, you just need like a coating. And so we're going to pack that in there and give that a trim. And then I did decide to add just a little embellishment. And I have these little burlap bows that I picked up on sale from Hobby Lobby, a little bit of hot glue, and we're going to attach that to the top, well, just below the moss ball. And then I decided it was too much of that brown color, so I'm going to add just a little bit of this other moss so that we have a variety of colors. You can still see the other one peeking through. It also helped make, my voice just squeaked, I don't know why. It also helped make that moss ball just a little bit bigger, and so yeah, this is what I chose to do. I love how this little moss topiary came out. I think it's sweet and fun for spring. Sometimes you just want a little something in a vignette to add some height and, you know, that kind of thing. And I think this is great for it and super, super inexpensive to make because pretty much everything comes in a pack with multiples. So for this one, I have a frame. I picked this up at a thrift store for $1 a long time ago and I've painted the frame. We're going to leave it as is. I have this piece of cardstock that I'm going to cut down to fit into my frame for my initial background. I'm just using the back side of it. I needed something white that I could paint, and this is thicker, so I thought it would hold the paint well. So that's what we're gonna do. And I'm gonna do a medium level dry brush. So not a ton of paint, but you know, definitely notable. I'm using Serenity Blue by Rust-Oleum, and we're just going to cover this as much as you want. The paper did start to bow up as I was painting it. I wasn't super worried about it because I was putting it in the frame again behind the glass, but as I dried it down with my heat gun, it kind of went back down flat. Now I wanted to share this fun find with you. I found these at the Dollar Tree. These are in the party section, like the party section, plates and all of that. And it's a pack of 32, 4 different sizes of these paper doilies. And I thought this would be really great for crafting. And for, I do think that these were $2, but for how many I got, I was like, that's a really, really good price. So don't hesitate to look in different parts of Dollar Tree while you're looking for things, or any craft store for that matter, Hobby Lobby, wherever. And then I wanted to attach this over our paper, and the paper doily, I think you need the iron-on method with Mod Podge. It wrinkled immediately, and I did not want wrinkles. I'm just putting a little bit of Mod Podge on here to get it to stay in place, and then I let it dry a little bit, and then I grabbed my parchment paper and my mini heat brush, and I got most of the wrinkles out by going over it after the fact, and that was much better. You saw earlier I pulled out a cross because I was trying to see how I wanted to place this doily on there because I didn't necessarily need it even. I was fine with it being off-centered. I'm just going to clean this glass with some rubbing alcohol because that's what I have in my craft room. I don't usually have glass cleaner up there. So we're going to give that a cleaning, and then we're going to put our paper in. I didn't trim off the doily. I just kind of folded it over and put our back on. And I really do love this frame. It's a little bit loose and wobbly on the back, but I really like it. And then I have this wood cross. This is from Hobby Lobby, and it has a hanger on it. So I'm just going to pull out the staples to take the hanger off, and then I'm using a baby wipe and some antique wax to stain this cross. I love this cross. It has a heart on the center of it, and it's fitting because when Jesus died on the cross for us. It was out of his love for us that he took the penalty for our sin upon himself on the cross. And so I just think it's a beautiful representation of what we celebrate come Easter. And then I wanted to make a crown of thorns, and I thought this berry garland was kind of a good fit for that, even though it's a little bit more pretty than the harsh reality of the crown of thorns. But the haphazard way that the berries lay reminded me of the look of the thorns. And so I just made myself a little crown of thorns using this. It's wired. You can get the berry garland at Hobby Lobby or Dollar Tree. And I just wrapped it upon itself, and then we're going to attach that to the cross. I also have this Happy Easter. This is from Hobby Lobby, $1.99. There was 4 in the pack. So even without them being on sale, that's only 50 cents a piece, but you know, you can always buy them on sale. We're going to go over this with that blue, Serenity Blue by Rust-Oleum. And I'm doing a kind of a light coating of it just because I didn't want the paint to be, gobbed up on it. And then I'm going to just put a little bit of hot glue on the back of the cross to attach this crown here. And then I'm getting position for everything. I initially did hot glue for this cross. I will tell you, it popped up. And I don't think it was because it was on the glass. It's because my cross was a little bit bowed. And so it didn't have enough contact. So what I ended up doing, which I didn't show you, is it came off and I just took a scrap piece of thin wood and I hot glued it to the cross and then hot glued that piece to the glass, and it's holding wonderfully because that gave a complete flat contact. So yes, glass and hot glue don't always mix well together, but you can make it work. I just wanted to be honest that I did have to make an adjustment here. And then the Happy Easter was blending in just a little too much, so I'm going in with a little bit of antique wax to kind of highlight the edges, and then with some tacky glue, or I think mine's just called crafter's glue, but going to brush that on the back because it's kind of hard to get the hot glue on all of those little spaces. And then I decided that the heart on this cross blended in too much with the cross. So I'm going in with a stencil brush and a little bit of white paint. I will eventually build upon the paint until I get the amount of white on there that I desired. But I'm just going to go over that cross, or the heart rather. I just wanted to highlight it a little bit more, and so that it didn't blend in as much. And I didn't realize that till, after I was done. But I really, really like how this one came out. This will definitely be going up in my home. I mean, I love all of the pieces I make, but I don't keep everything because I just make so much for the sake of the video, or, for videos. But I really, really love this one. Let me know what you guys think. So for this one, I have a frame from the Dollar Tree. I really love this one because of the textured wood look to it. I just love the texture on it. I'm going in with Serenity Blue once again and dry brushing over that. I end up going back and adding a little bit more paint. You just want to build on it. You don't want to, it's harder to take it off. But I love to do this to just kind of bring out the texture there of this faux wood. Paint it solid. If you don't like this distressed kind of textured look, you can paint it solid or leave it as is. And then we're going to go ahead and put our glass in. And then I have some sheet music of a hymn. You can print something off of the internet. You can just buy some music scrapbook paper as well from Hobby Lobby. And then we are now going to a wood cross that I believe is from Hobby Lobby. And I'm just going to wrap this with some twine. Now, I don't have any thinner twine, but I have a ton of larger twine. And so I just took the larger one apart to get a few strands. And getting it around all of the edges was a little tricky, but I just took my time and used a little extra hot glue, and be very careful you don't burn yourself, to kind of cover the outside edges. But essentially, we're just going to wrap this entire cross with some jute twine. One way to help me out is to leave a comment down below. Say hello, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you decorate for Easter. If you don't know what to say, but you'd still love to help me out, leaving me an emoji is great. It lets me know you're here, which is so fun for me to see who's watching. It also helps engagement on my video, which makes YouTube more likely to share my video with others, which is awesome because I want my, video to get out to as many people as possible. So if you would leave me a comment down below, I would so greatly appreciate it. Once I have my cross fully covered, I'm going to use my heat gun to melt off any strings from the hot glue. You can also use a lighter, but I did not have one in my craft room. And then I'm just going to put a bunch of hot glue and place this down on top. And that is it for this one. I love this one. I feel like I say the same thing all the time, but I do. I love how this one came out. Let me know what you guys think down below. And I am curious, do you decorate for Easter? I don't go all out, but I will put out a few pieces. All right, so for this one, I have this bamboo ring from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a 2-pack, and I believe you can get these at craft stores as well. This is a pretty small one, but you could definitely do this with a larger one as well. And we're going to start by just staining this. It's like a plasticky wood, so it's not really staining it, but I did cover it with some antique wax. I used a baby wipe, and then I'm just wiping it down with some paper towels as well, just so that it's not super dark. And like I've said before, it also helps it dry a little bit quicker. And now we're going to go in with a couple strands of twine, and I'm going to tie a knot, securing it with some hot glue here. And I saw some images of similar things to this, a couple different varieties, and I was just trying to figure out how to make it. So it took me, a couple different tries to get it right. So I'm going to wrap this around, and I found that it was better to intertwine, to pull it in between. You see, I'm not just going around, I'm kind of every other, kind of like a figure 8 around it. Is that making sense? And then a couple times I tied it onto itself, or I used some hot glue. I wasn't really sure how many layers of this I needed, but you don't want to just do around the outside of the loop of the ring. You need to go in between it because you need layers of twine, and you'll see why in a second. I'm also adding on some twine across the top to add a little hanger. So I'm just also going to thread on a couple of beads here. I decided to add 6, 3 per side, just to add a little extra touch of detail, I guess, to the hanger. This is just like a small little hanging piece. I don't know if you call it a wreath. I mean, I know what a wreath is, but I don't know if this classifies as a wreath. I don't know. I have these florals. I think they're from Walmart. I've had them for many, many years, and I'm just cutting them apart and weaving the stems in between the twine. So that is why I said you can't just go around the outside of the ring. You need to go like in a figure 8 when you're wrapping it around. I hope that is making sense. Now, this took me a little bit. They needed to be, okay, so the florals need to be down a good bit so they don't topple backwards. I think if I had prettier, like florals with a prettier stem, I would have left my stems longer, but I ended up trimming them down so that you can't see them at all. So let me know what you think about that. I'm not totally sure. It wasn't how I intended to do it initially. I'm just adding on some more layers of the twine because I realized I needed it thicker to help hold the florals so that they weren't toppling. So added more, put the florals back, and I'm like really, really pushing them down because I realized they needed to do that so that they weren't toppling. These are also thicker stems, like the topping, the florals on them. So if it was like a single flower, then I think that would have also made it easier. But I'm going to show you what I do, and I like how it came out, but I do want to help you out if you want to give this a try. And then some of that twine was going to slide down, so I just tucked some hot glue underneath it to hold it into place, trimmed this down, and then I started shoving some hot glue like underneath the twine on the florals to just secure everything together. And then here I did like one more wrapping to help cover up the stems, and then secured everything the best I could. So I hope you get the general idea of this piece, even if you end up having to do it, different yourself if you decide to recreate it. Let me know what you think about it. I took one video here on my table and then here hanging up just because I wanted you to be able to get a good look at it. But let me know what you think about this. I think this would be nice hanging on hooks like it is here, or maybe added to, it's too small for a front door, but you could certainly make a larger one. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and make sure your notification bell is turned on. If you made it all the way to the end of my video, go ahead and leave me a bunny emoji down below so that I know you made it to the end. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.